don't want to do that. The first point is that your armor or your guidance comes from within yourself. That sounds a little bit religious, but it's true. You're not going to get it from anyone else. You're not going to get it from anything that you read. It comes from within yourself, right? Your armor against subversive influences. Try and know or learn which influences to shut off from. Write them down. I mean, I haven't even mentioned films and radio. Anyone listen to the Jeremy Vine show? That is just the most disgusting, fear-mongering. I put that on for 15 seconds before I've had enough of it. Jeremy Vine. So know or learn which influences to shut off from, and think carefully about what you put value on. So the Peppa Pig stuff that I showed you before, Peppa doesn't like nature, so they're trying to make people worship material things. They're trying to create consumerist materialism. If you don't have your health, you're not going to have any of it. Yeah. Don't spend long periods under subversive influences. I only watch the news for about 15 minutes every week. That's all you need in order to get up on the propaganda. Yeah. You don't need to sit in front of the TV for long periods of time. And give the influencers labels which describe what they really are. Dancing on shite. I call Greg's dregs, and there are many others. Make them up. I call the news. I don't say, well, are we going to put the news on? I say, are we going to put the stress on? But it's not always as simple as that, is it? And it's not always the woman who's addicted to subversive influences. Sometimes it's the man, or it might be teenagers or grandparents, or whatever your situation is. You might be living in the same space as someone who can't get enough of all of this, and you just want to switch off from it. What the hell do you do? Because a lot of people contact me about that, and we saw the comment in the slide that she never has the soaps off. It's quite a tricky thing, but I've had to think about it. This comes from cognitive behavioral therapy, which can be used for the positive. It's not all mind control. So write a letter from the other person's perspective. So imagine that you are that other person, and explain to yourself why you need all of these subversive influences. That will then enable you to understand where they're coming from. Then put yourself in an imaginary trial. So there's a judge, a jury, and the other person. What would you say to that jury to convince them that all of the subversive influences are completely bad and ought to be taken away from your life, right? And once you've done that, imagine that the other person who loves the subversive influences is drowning in a river. Now, if they were drowning in a river, would you point at them and say, stop drowning in that bloody river? Because they are drowning in a river of subversion. You wouldn't, would you? They need support. So no, it's not their fault. It's the subverters' fault. They're victims of subversion. People who are addicted to this stuff. No ticking off, right? They're victims. They need support. Talk to their heart before their head and show some compassion. Try and get them to propose a solution, an alternative to just being absorbed in these subversive influences, and then they're more likely to follow the solution. And recognize and give gratitude if they give suggestions. All right, well, if we put the lights back on now, that's the end of